Hello, and thank you for joining Reporting in GrantSolutions. Before we begin, please ensure you have opened the Webex Chat and Q&A panel by using the associated icon on the bottom right corner of your screen. Please note that this event is being recorded and all audio connections are muted at this time until the Q&A portion of the call. You may submit written questions throughout the presentation, and these will be addressed during the Q&A. To submit a question, please use the Q&A section at the right corner of your screen. If you require technical assistance, please send the chat to the event producer. With that, please welcome Ms. Stephanie Adams, Ross Program Manager. Please.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of you for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you with us in our third and final reporting webinar this year. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump right in. Next slide, please. So I think you know your Ross Head team, but just as a refresher, my name is Stephanie. I'm one of the program managers on Ross. The second program manager is Louis Dorman. We are also very grateful to have Dina Lehman Kim, who is with us on the call. Trey Humans, he has been the leader in Ross for many years, and now he is our deputy director for our team, but still certainly has a helpful hand in the Ross program. And for all of you with, oh, hello, Jolene. I see you send a little message in the chat. That's great. Great to see you all. And so all of you with tribal TDAG communities, Joseph Taylor is the National Grants Management Specialist for ONAP. And then for everyone else, so if you have public housing communities, then Charles Eldridge and Janelle Jones are the National Grants Managers for the Office of Field Operations. And of course, we have countless local head field office staff, OFO and ONAP, who work directly with you every day to support your grant. And so if you can, we would love to hear who we have on the call. You have a chat feature, so we'd welcome you to shout out, an introduction, share with us your name, your grantee. We'd love to hear where you're calling in from and who all we have on this call. So that would be great. We welcome those introductions, and we're thrilled to have you all. Next slide, please. All right, so resources for reporting, the one-on-one technical assistance with reporting. So right now, this has been offered to select grantees who have lower data quality availability. This targeted subset has been sent direct invitations. So if you've received that, great. If you don't know what I'm talking about, no problem. It just means you didn't fall in that subset. These one-on-one calls are through our third-party TA contractor. We definitely encourage you to take advantage of those and learn more about your data quality, data availability. Take advantage of those one-on-one calls. For those of you who have not received this invitation, we will be opening up these calls to all grantees. We're expecting that to happen in September, so September and October, leading up to the next reporting deadline. So stay tuned, and the spots are first come, first serve. So if you've already received an invitation, we encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. If you have not yet, stay tuned and be sure to sign up once you get that. Most of these resources below the one-on-one TA can be found on the Ross HUD Exchange page. So I'll just flag that all these reporting webinars, they are recorded. So the archived recordings are on that Ross HUD Exchange page. We also have data dashboard, our quick reference guide. And then the other HUD Exchange page that's helpful on this slide is that Standards for Success has its own standalone HUD Exchange page. And we'll do this will be included in our demos later. So you'll get to see the page, kind of highlight some helpful spots in it. But note that there's two HUD Exchange pages here, the Ross and the Standards for Success. Next slide, please. Great. We've covered this before, but just to hit on a few highlights for the importance of reporting. It really helps you to assess where you are in your program. Are you reaching your target populations? Are you moving the needle? Where, where are your strengths? Where can you look to improve? It helps us to understand these things as well. So whenever we meet with you one-on-one or in group learning sessions, we can tailor that those meetings and make the most out of them by understanding where you are in your program. Reporting is a requirement in your grant agreement, so that's, of course, one compelling reason that it matters. Reporting also means that you have data available to you in the dashboard. Please note that we have updated the data in the dashboard, so everyone who submitted their 2021 reports by that 2021 deadline, you should now see your data in the dashboard. And lastly, we use the data and the dashboard and your reporting to help justify why this program matters, what impact it has. So you're helping us to justify continued funding. And next slide, please. Great. So the reporting periods are October 1st through September 30th. And then those annual reports are due October 30th. We'll have some more on the reporting deadlines. Bear in mind that your final report is the one that's a little bit different. It has to do with a set amount of days after your grant term end date, but generally October 30th is the date for reporting deadlines. And another funny one to flag is for your first year of reporting, it's not a full year because typically grantees are starting on June 1st. So if you just started your grant term on June 1st, you will still be submitting a report on October 30th, but it will only cover data collected from June 1st through September 30th. And next slide, please. Great. So here you can see those deadlines I just mentioned. So you can see that October 30th is generally when those reports will be due, except for that final report, right? So you can look in your grant agreement and that will tell you whether it's 60 days or 90 days. Generally, it's 90 days after the grant term end date that the final report will be due. But to confirm, take a look in your grant agreement and you can find that information there. For everyone else, if you're not in the final year of your report, if you're not on your final report, October 30th is your date. And next slide, please. So a couple reminders here. Be sure that you know when the deadline is for your specific report. Again, October 30th is a big day for most grantees. So if it's submitted after October 30th and that's when your report is due, it is considered late. For your final report, look at the grant agreement. Say, for example, your grant agreement says the deadline is 90 days after your grant term. If you submit after those 90 days, it will be considered late. And then the last one to flag is has to do with personal identifiable information, PII. So this is something that's not allowable in reports. So if you submit a report that includes PII and then HUD has to reject it and you make corrections, but those corrections happen after the reporting deadline, that can also make it late. So definitely be sure to de-identify your data. That's just the easiest way to make sure that you don't run into that problem. And we'll have more on PII later. Next slide, please. Great. So quick glance at data quality. So all of your reports, they really ask for three big things, which is demographics, what were those services that were provided to this resident, and what were the outcomes? We really want to see, we really encourage more of a case management model with the RAS program. We want to see that you're following up with residents, that you know what the outcomes are, that you continue to meet with residents and track that individual client progress, which is why we ask for outcomes and reports. So those are the three big categories of information we're requesting under each household identifier in your report. And then another piece I want to flag is that in our newest NOFO, I know that we clarified that our expectation is that we want to see at any given time a service coordinator having a caseload of at least 50 residents. So if you want to look at your report and see, how am I doing? Am I on track? A quick, at a glance, a way to kind of get a sense of that would be to look at your household identifiers. Do you have at least 50 on there, indicating 50 different residents served during that reporting period? Of course, if it's, your first year report, it won't be a full year, so we wouldn't expect the full 50. If it's your last final report, again, it won't be a full year in most cases, so we wouldn't expect the 50, but it's just a good way to kind of gauge, especially if your report reflects a full reporting period, a full annual year. If you have at least 50 household identifiers, great. You are doing awesome and hitting those expectations that HUD has. Next slide, please. A little deeper into data quality. So I know we've discussed the data guide. It's located on HUD Exchange, and this is a really great resource. It provides descriptions. It tells you data element requirements. So we encourage you to take a look at that, especially if you are uncertain what response option to select, or if you have any questions about deciding between different service codes. If you want a little more information about maybe the intent that HUD has behind those codes and what they mean, the data guide is your friend. It has a lot of really great information. So definitely check that out, and that'll just help to strengthen that data quality. Next slide, please. Great. So GrantSolutions is where we have our performance reports. It's in the online data collection tab in GrantSolutions, and it uses the standards for success model and those data elements. But the first step is that all of this is in the system of GrantSolutions, right? So you need to make sure that someone, maybe more than one person, hopefully more than one, has access to GrantSolutions on your team. And if you don't know who it is that has access, or in the case of turnover, or if you just want an additional staff member to have that access, the process is to submit a user account request form to GrantSolutions, and you can be added in. And yeah, I think we'll kind of dive deeper into that later, but that is great for now. And next slide, please. So if you've listened to these webinars in the past, you'll recall that we have a wonderful team member from GMO, Thaddeus, who normally graces us and covers this. We're sad to miss him this year, but he's just had a scheduling conflict this time around. But I will be walking us through some key pieces on standards for success. So everyone here should be familiar with standards for success. This is what you use in that performance reporting. You can see here some of the, key elements of standards for success. We like it because it's standardized, and it really ties the elements to goals in a clean way. One thing that I'll flag here is, again, that personal identifiable information. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important to de-identify data. And if you include that PII, HUD will reject those reports, ask for you to remove the PII, and you just to save everyone, that back and forth and just the errors on that report. It's definitely best just to be careful and make sure that you don't have anything that could be perceived as PII, which would mean, like, if there's consecutive letters that look like they could be initials, for example, that could be PII. One thing I'll share on PII is that GrantSolutions is working towards automatically generating household identifiers. So that change is expected to happen after October 30th, so after the upcoming reporting period. But at some point, hopefully, you won't have to generate those household identifiers yourself, which would mean you don't have to submit information that could contain PII. It'll kind of just help alleviate that concern. So we're grateful to GrantSolutions for working towards that. You know, just a heads up, that's what's coming down the pipes. But for now, this reporting period, you will be, you know, submitting to us those household identifiers. It won't be automatically generated. So just be sure that it doesn't include anything that could be perceived as PII. And next slide, please. All right. So Yessie, if you can allow me, I would love to take you all directly to the Standards for Success page on HUD Exchange. The link is included here. There's a couple key elements that we want to touch on, and we'll go in this in greater depth later, but just want to share with you all an overview. And let's see here. And so, Yessie, if you can, I will go ahead and share my screen.
You should be able to do it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So here you can see we are on the Standards for Success HUD Exchange page. You can see the URL at the top, and it's also included in the slides. Couple spots where I'll direct your attention. First is at the very bottom here, you see reporting tools. So there's a couple different routes that grantees can take to submit their Standards for Success reports to HUD. I'll specifically, some of these cover, you know, if you have case management software. And I do just want to flag this bottom one and note that, you know, if you choose to use a case management system that does not export directly into GrantSolutions, that, you know, the what you submit has to render for submission either an XML or Excel file per the HUD provided templates. So more on that to come, but that is, you know, there's some really key helpful information here as you're navigating how to submit those reports. And next, I'd like to direct our attention to this Contact tab over to the right. If you click Program Inquiries and Help, it'll take you to a page that helps to kind of break down who's the point of contact for different questions. So if you have general questions about, if you have general questions about Standards for Success, you can ask GMO at HUD.gov. That's a great contact. If you have questions about navigating GrantSolutions, this is the help desk for GrantSolutions, and that's a great point of contact for you to reach out to. And then for questions specific to the program, of course, you can reach out to your local HUD field office, and you can also reach out to us at Ross headquarters. So we are ross-pih@hud.gov. And one last piece, which is resources. So here underneath contact over to the right, you'll see a box about resources. This OLDC online data collection user guide, this is up to date. So certainly, you know, if you're running into any concerns, consult that user guide. It could be a really great tool. I'll note that some of the other materials here may be a few years old, but they can still be a helpful basis for navigating Standards for Success. And then you see here those training materials. I'll take us here briefly. Under virtual trainings, you'll see informed trainings. And this link here, the Inform Walkthrough Orientation, this is a walkthrough in GrantSolutions that's very, very similar to one that we're about to provide with you today. So this training is recorded. It will be published on Rosshead Exchange. But if you want to see another demo, here's a great place. So the Standards for Success Head Exchange page under trainings and this Inform Walkthrough Orientation. All right, so thank you so much, Yessie, for letting me take presenter control, and I will pass it back to you so we can return to those slides. And if you can take us to the next slide, please. Great. Okay, so it's been a joy speaking with you all. At this time, I will turn it over to Andrea Carter. She is a senior technical trainer with GrantSolutions, and we're thrilled to have her and we welcome her. Andrea, thank you so much for training with us today.
You're very welcome. Yessie, may I share my screen? Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for Stephanie, you shared a wealth of information. I have the pleasure of demonstrating the OLDC in GrantSolutions. My name, once again, is Andrea Carter, and I am a trainer with GrantSolutions. So today, I have the pleasure of demonstrating the submission process that HUD uses in OLDC for the grant recipients. Okay. In today's demo, I'm going to include how you can provide your Standards for Success report in GrantSolutions by the report data upload feature, if you utilize it, and by the report form entry. I'll also show you how to save, validate, certify, submit, and make revisions if necessary. So I'm going to actually wave goodbye to everyone and turn off my camera, and then I'm going to share my screen so we can begin the demo. Hopefully everyone's excited. All righty, so can everyone see my screen pretty well?
I can see it.
All right, great. So now to begin, you're going to enter from your latest version of your preferred browser. I'm going to be using Google Chrome today, and you're going to enter www.grantsolutions.gov, and it's going to take you to this public website here. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is access our GrantSolutions login screen. So at the top right of the screen, I'm going to click the login button, and it's going to take us here to the GrantSolutions login screen. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Now, here on the GrantSolutions login screen, you will use your login.gov credentials to access GrantSolutions. Okay, so I'm actually going to click on the login.gov for recipients and grantors so that you can see it. And this is the screen that you're going to use to enter your login.gov credentials to access GrantSolutions. So you'll need to enter your email address and password to get in and click sign in. Now, I'm actually going to be using one of my training environments to demonstrate OLDC today. So I'm actually going to navigate there now. It looks very similar. And I'm going to be using my GrantSolutions username and password. But as a reminder, you will be using your login.gov credentials. I'm just using this in my test environment now. Hold on 1 second. Let's try again. There we go. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Just refreshing my screen really quickly and just accessing my stage environment. I appreciate your patience with me. Give me 1 second. It's just taking a second to load. Now, while we wait, what's going to open up shortly is our GrantSolutions, the first landing page. So it could potentially be 2 different landing pages. So if you are a recipient that uses the portal screen, I will show you from the portal screen what it looks like. And then I'll have an opportunity to show you from the My Grants List screen how to navigate there. All right, there we go. So I'm just going to open up my other, there we are. So here we are, we've made it to our GrantSolutions portal screen here. And so to access our OLDC site from the menu, you would click OLDC. Now, if you are a user that the first page is not the portal screen, but you actually see the My Grants List screen. I'm going to open that up here. If you see this view in the system when you first log in, to access OLDC, you'll need to come to the very top of the menu, select the drop-down arrow with your first and last name initials, and select OLDC from the drop-down. Okay. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm going to be using it right from the portal screen. So I'm going to click the OLDC from the menu. And voila, here we are on the online data collection. All right. Now, this is the OLDC home page, and this is our standard view. Our standard view just houses these links here that are available to navigate throughout the system. Now, there is another view in the system that you can use, and it's called the enhanced view. So if you wanted to use that view, to the right of the screen, there is a link that's labeled Switch Home Page Enhanced. So I'm going to click that. The screen's going to refresh, and it's displaying a pop-up message asking me if I want to make this enhanced view of OLDC my default homepage. If you'd like to do that, you can select yes, but I'm going to actually click no because I want to keep this available to show at a later time. Now we have made it to our enhanced view. You can see that the view is a bit different. It still includes those same links from the standard view. However, this time it is enhanced. Get it? Get it? So here in the enhanced view, what are some benefits to using this view? Now, specifically here is these tabs that are available. I'm actually going to go over each one of them for you, but these tabs are available and helpful to navigate and see what reports you have in progress. So this first tab here is the My Recent Activity. And this My Recent Activity tab, it houses the reports that are in progress in which you can take action on. So one tip here is if you log out of GrantSolutions, or if you've started a report and you need to exit out of GrantSolutions for a second to handle some business and then come back, you can come back to the enhanced view, to the My Recent Activity tab, and you can locate that report period and take action on it. Continue working on it. So that's the Recent Activity tab. This middle tab here is the Activity Report. So if you select the program and the grantee's name, it shows all the report activity. And then lastly, the Report Due tab. This displays, once again, if the selected program and grantee name has been selected, it displays all the reports that are due. Now, do you need to memorize any of this information? Absolutely not. If you hover over each of the tabs, it does provide some help text to let you know what each of the tabs are used for. Now, that's just a little bit about the different views. Next, we're going to talk about how can you include your Standards for Success report in OLDC. Now, there are 2 ways that you can do this. The first is by the report data upload. Now, this link is available to the users who utilize this feature, but what this is if you're using a third-party case management system and you need to upload it using a Microsoft Excel file or an XML, which is an extensible markup language template, you can use this report data upload to include your report. Now, the other way that you can include your report is to manually enter it by clicking the report form entry. Now, I have the pleasure of showing you both ways, and I'm going to start with the report data upload. Now, once I click on the report data upload link, it does take me to the report data upload, and I do have some information for you that I want to share about this before we begin. So If you decide to submit your PRL report using either of these options, so that is the XML or the Microsoft Excel file templates, you must first notify HUD of your intentions by emailing askgmo@hud.gov, okay, in order to acquire this functionality in GrantSolutions. Now, please find the Microsoft Excel and XML templates at www.hudexchange.info/programs/status for success. Now, Stephanie did display this information here for you, but it can't hurt to see it again. I'm actually going to drag it over here. And this is that screen that Stephanie presented. This is the HUD Exchange, and this page is specifically for the standards for success. So if you scroll down to the very bottom here, there is a section that's labeled Reporting Tools. And when you click on the Other Case Management System dropdown, it does provide you the template files for both the XML and Excel that links to those templates. It also has a quick sheet on how to upload your report in OLDC. I just wanted to give you some information before we actually got started. Now, let's upload a report. Now, so here on the report data upload, you'll see the program's name, and I'm going to select that from the dropdown. And today it is Resident Opportunity Self-Sufficiency ROS Service Coordinators. Next criteria I'm going to select is the grantee's name. After, I'm going to select the report name. And you guessed it, our report name is Standards for Success Annual Report. Now, once those three have been selected, two new criteria display. The first is the funding grant period. So I'm going to select that from the drop down. And here in my example, it's October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2022. The next criteria is report period. So I'm going to select, you'll notice that there are 4 different start and end dates for each of the different reporting periods. You'll just need to select the one that you need. So I'm going to select the October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. Now, once all of my criteria has been selected, you'll see down below from the report period is the area where you can either drag the file from your file folder, or you can click the here link to open up your file folder and upload the file. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to click here. And just as a reminder, the types of files that are supported is XML, which is extensible markup language, and your Microsoft Excel files. So I'm going to locate the file that I want to upload. And I'm going to use my sample report and click open. Okay. You'll see it on the screen. It says uploading in progress. If you want to cancel it before it's been uploaded, there is a link available, but a pop-up displays up above saying successfully uploaded one file. And I'm going to click the OK button. That green check mark lets us know we are good to go and our file has been uploaded. Now, just below the file that we just below the area where we uploaded the file are 2 sections. The first one is My Upload Status. And here it displays, let's scroll down a bit. Here it displays all of the files in which I have uploaded to the to OLDC. Now, the file that I just uploaded is right here, is sample report 2. It actually failed. The reason why it failed is because this is a report that I once uploaded already. But we'll talk about some failed reports in a second. But your file that you uploaded will display here in the table. The table includes the file's name, the status of the file, whether it's been saved or if it's been failed. And as well as a date upload column that includes the date and the time in Eastern Standard Time. If you want to know more information, you can click the drop-down arrow to the left of the file name column, and it'll display the report name, the updated date on, uploaded by, and the reporting period, if you'd like. Now, as I mentioned, and as you can see here, sometimes when you upload a file, it fails. Now, there is a list of files in the OLDC HUD guide there is a list of errors with resolutions in the OLDC HUD guide that is available to you. And whenever you get a upload that has been failed, we strongly encourage you to start at that OLDC HUD guide first for any troubleshooting tips. Another thing that I want to mention is if you are using a third-party case management system, please reach out to the support site to see if they can help with any upload issues. Okay. Another tip that I just want to mention here is that when you upload a form, let's say you upload a Microsoft Excel file, the grantor, the HUD users who are reviewing your report, they do not see it as the Excel spreadsheet. What they see it is how it is displayed in GrantSolutions when we're doing the manual entry, the report form entry way. So they cannot see the form in the original way that the file was uploaded. Just wanted to give you a tip there. Now, as I mentioned about failed files, with failed files, there are 2 errors that GrantSolutions Help Desk can support. Okay. Now, I'm going to use the second section here, the program and grantee upload. So this is if you wanted to see by selecting a program name and a grantee, which forms have been uploaded to that particular program and grant recipient's name. Now, I'm going to use these last 2 here that have failed to show you the example of what it looks like and what you can do to fix it. Now, this first one here, it says upload failed, the file upload failed. Please contact the GrantSolutions Help Desk for assistance. Now, the GrantSolutions Help Desk can be reached Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., excluding federal holidays. And they can be reached by immediately if you dial 866-577-0771, or within 13 hours, you can send an email to help@grantsolutions.gov. Okay. Now, for this particular issue, the GrantSolutions Help Desk will come in. They'll let you know what corrections need to be made. Then you'll need to log back into GrantSolutions, delete the file, and re-upload. If the issue persists, the issue will be escalated. The next failed error that the GrantSolutions Help Desk can support is upload failed. The file upload failed because the report was previously added. A revised version of the file can be uploaded once the report is approved. So this is a very similar action. What you'll need to do, the GrantSolutions Help Desk will tell you that you'll need to reattempt to upload the file, okay? So you'll need to go to the report form entry section and you'll need to actually delete this file and then go back and upload a new file here. Okay, so just wanted to go over the 2 failed errors that GrantSolutions Help Desk can support. Okay. So as I mentioned before, this is the first way in which you can include your Standards for Success report by using the report data upload feature. Next, I'm going to click on the OLDC home and go back to our enhanced view. And this time, I'm going to select the report form entry. Now, this is the second way that the form can be entered. This is the manual. In this method, you can manually enter the Standards for Success form in OLDC. Okay. Now, I'm going to click the report form entry link. And here you'll see it takes us to the form selection screen. So we'll need to select some criteria once again. So I'm going to select the program name. It's Ross once again. And this time I'm going to select my grantee's name. Okay. And then once you select the grantee, sometimes it'll auto-populate the report name as well as the funding grant period, just like it did for us here. If there are other options, meaning other report names or other funding grant periods that are available, you will need to select them from the drop-down list. Okay. Now, we've selected our criteria, and what displays below? A table. So the table includes the reporting period start and end date. It includes the column name title, which is annual here for the Standards for Success report. To the right of that, you'll see the report status. Here in my example, the previous years are in the status of submission accepted by CO, and CO just stands for Central Office. Okay. And under the actions columns, there are several actions that are available. I will go over some of them in the submission accepted by CO. We'll take a look at some of the actions that are available now that this report has been accepted. Now, you could revise the report by clicking on this first icon here. Okay. You could take a look at the report status to take a look at all of the original submission, any attachments, and the form, and some more information. If you'd like to print the latest version of this accepted report, you could do that by clicking this third icon, which is a printer. And then last but certainly not least is the I icon, which is to just view the latest report here in OLDC. Now, these are just some of the icons that are available for a report that has been accepted. All right, but now what we're going to do is our first step in the workflow, which is to initialize. So here, I'm going to show you two ways. Now, the first way that you can initialize your report is by cloning, okay? So I'm going to use this reporting period, October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. And from the actions column, I'm going to click the second icon, which is two papers on top of each other, which is the clone report. Now, clicking the clone report, what it does is for this current reporting period, you can clone, meaning to copy a previous reporting year's submitted report and make it the current year's report. All right. Now I'm going to click the clone report. In step 1, it auto-populates the funding and grant period. And in step 2, you'll need to select which reporting period you'd want to clone. So I'm going to just select the October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020 report to clone. So I'm going to scroll down and click clone. Now, how do you know that the form is still cloning? At the very top here of your web browser, you will see the wheel browser, meaning that it's still loading, so you'll know that the form is still being cloned. One tip I do want to mention is that the larger the form, meaning the more data that a form includes, the longer it could possibly take to clone. So just wanted to give you a heads up there. At the very top here, it says cloning is completed successfully. So all we have to do now is click the OK button, and it brings us here to the report section screen. Now, this is the screen where if you would like to make any modifications or edits to the household identifiers in any of the different sections, you can do that here. All right. I'm not actually going to continue forward. I want to show you how to create a new one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the report form status. I'm going to delete this report that I just cloned. It's going to ask me, do I permanently want to delete the original? I'm going to say yes. Right, and now it takes me back and it has removed that cloned report. So that's all with clone, how to create a clone and how to delete it. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to create. Okay, so from this current reporting period, I'm going to, from the actions column, click the plus sign icon, which means to create. Okay, so once I've selected that button, it takes us here to the report sections. Now, this screen looks very familiar because it was the screen that we would come to when we clone the report. The only difference this time is that we don't have as many household identifiers. So it's a little bit different. Now, first, we're going to go over what's available on the screen, and then we're going to talk about each of these two sections. Now, the report section at the very top, those criteria that we selected previously, which was the program name, the grantee's name, the report name, and the funding and grant period, start and end date, as well as the report period display up at the top. Just below that, it lets us know what actions can be performed here. So you can see that validate, certify, and submit are all to be done here if you have that role authority. And then just below, it does mention for the drop down for the perform actions, each of the different items and what they mean. Okay. Now, we're coming here right now, as it stands, the workflow status is initialized. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to start with each section. So I'm going to start with the cover page. Now, in the section name, it is cover page, and I'm going to go over to the perform action. And under that, I'm going to select from the drop-down list the edit section, because that's the section I want to modify right now. So I'm going to click go. All right, so we've made it here to the participant record level report cover page. At the very top of the screen, that same criteria is available up top in the information box. Just below that, you'll see the report progress. What I love about OLDC is that there is a progress bar. It shares with you visually where you are in the process and what is left to be done. That's so wonderful. Next, we'll take a look at the cover page. Now, there are different fields here and different information, and the information that is here is pre-populated information. Okay. Now, even though it is pre-populated information, if you're coming here to review to make sure that it is correct, if any of the pre-populated information is incorrect, you will need to send an email to our GrantSolutions help desk at help@grantsolutions.gov. Now, even though a lot of the information is pre-populated, there are two fields in which there can be some modifications. So 4B, the catalog of federal domestic assistance number, can be modified, as well as field 10, which is comment. It is a text box, as well as if you'd like, you could attach a file to this particular comment on the cover page. But if everything is all good and you want to move forward, we're going to click Save. Perfect. So now I'm going to go up to the Report Sections menu drop-down and click on Go to Report Section. So now here in our table on the report section, we can see from the cover page name, if we scroll all the way over to section status, that we have saved that cover page. Hopefully everyone's high-fiving me. So we've come in, we have saved our cover page, and next we're going to take a look at the household identifier. All right. So to do that, from the household identifier row, under the perform actions, I'm going to select edit section, okay, and click go. Now, once again, that criteria that we selected does display in that information box above. You will see the report progress, as well as some buttons that are available to take action. But we're here to discuss the household identifier, okay? Now, the household identifier at the very top, it does state 0, but once you have entered your person identifier and household identifier and filled in all of the information that you know that you have to you, and you click Save, this will update to include the person identifier as well as the household identifier. But you'll see, and I'll point that out to you, don't you worry. So I am not going to go over every single field here. I am going to answer some of the questions up at the top, but I mainly want to show you what are the different ways in which you can respond to each of the fields that are available. So here I have the person identifier. I'm going to copy that and enter it in. Always helps to save us time to have information readily available, right? And then next, I'm going to enter the household identifier that I have. Next, I'm going to enter number 3, which is the participant status code. It is a drop-down. There are 2 items here. There is participant and non-participant. So let's say, for example, you didn't know which one to select. If you click on any of the fields, names, labels, there is help text to help you to determine determining what to enter or select. Now, specifically for the participant status code, this has to do if the participant is in the service coordination program, okay? You can select either participant or non-participant. I do want to give you a tip here. If you do select participant means that you must fill out every field on this particular report. Otherwise, you will see errors. Okay. And I'm actually going to leave it at participant because I want to show you what the errors look like shortly. Field 4 is the service start and end date. You'll see that for some of the responses, you will have to select you'll have a calendar widget where you can select a date. Okay. And similarly to the age, I'm going to enter 45, but there is text that's available as well. All right. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go over all of them, but I am going to go over some of them and give you some tips along the way. So for field 8, race code, if the participant identifies by more than one race, you can select one of the races. So in our example, I'm going to select American Indian or Alaska Native. And then in your keyboard, if you click Control and then select white or whatever the secondary race that they identify with, you can have both of those selected there. Just wanted to show you a tip there. Now let's scroll down a little bit. You'll also notice, like in field 10, residence consensus tract, that some of the fields allow you to select a checkbox or select from the drop-down a label titled information not collected. So let's say you don't have that information, you can select that there. Okay. Now, you'll also notice that on this particular screen that there are sometimes where it skips field numbers. So like, for example, it starts at 15 and then jumps to 17. The way that the report works is that you will only see the fields in which you are required to report on. All right. Next, we'll take a look at field 37. So field 37, adult personal assistance service code. What's unique about this one is if you select yes from the drop-down, it does ask you to enter some more information with some text. So some of them may have some items where you'll have to respond like that. Next, we'll take a look at fields 59, 68, and 69. You will need to enter dollar amounts and whole numbers. And then just wanted to scroll all the way to the bottom so you saw the whole screen. Okay. And so once you've gone through and you have entered all the information that you have available for the participant, you'll scroll to the bottom of the screen. Once you've entered or selected all of your items, you will click the Save button. Now I'm going to click the Save button and I'm going to show you. All right. And so now I click the Save button. So I'm going to scroll back down. Actually, I'm going to scroll back up to the report sections, and I'm going to go to the report section screen. And I'm now going to show you that for the cover page, it is saved. And now for the household identifier, it's also saved. And as I mentioned before, originally it said household identifier 0, and it is now updated to the household identifier and personal identifier numbers. Okay, so I'm only going to include these two as a part of my report. However, multiple household identifiers can be added. If you need to add an additional household identifier, what you can do is from the previous report that was the previous household identifier form or section, you can go to the perform action and click the drop down that says create section. So when you click the create section and click go, it will open up a new household identifier that you can then now modify. Okay. Perfect. So first, what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to go to edit section and click go. And what I'm going to do here is for each of these parts, so the cover page and the household identifier, you could either go into the section and click save or validate separately for each of them, or you can come back to the report section screen and do it for both of them. So I'm actually going to just go ahead and show you how to do it for both. So I have the rights in order to validate. So I'm going to click validate. And you'll see that the second one, household identifier, is saved with error. So let's actually go to it. I'm going to click go. And if you remember before, I mentioned that if you select participant status code as participant, you do need to answer every single item. Now, what's nice about being able to see these errors is that it not only shows them at the very top of the section, but it tells you how many there are. There is a link to go to that particular error, as well as a link to long description that provides you with some assistance with entering or selecting the field. All right, so I am actually going to change it back to non-participant. Okay, I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to click validate, and I'm going to head back to my report section screen. And now you'll see that they're now the cover page and household identifier that I've modified are both saved and validated. Now, what I am going to do is go back to our I'm going to go back to our form section because I want to show you our report progress bar. So when we first created it, it was initialized. When we made edits to it and clicked the save button, it was an edit save status. And then you'll see that once both of them were saved after we made our changes and fixed all of our errors, I clicked the validated button and now it has been validated. Okay. Now, the next step in this process is to certify. So for those users who have the Certify authority, I'm going to head back to the report sections screen, and I'm going to click the Certify button. Now, once you click the Certify button, what this means is there is a pop-up that gives some information as well as instructions on what to do. And what it says here is changes made after saving and validating. This form will be lost, but don't worry, nothing will be lost. You have the ability to sign in the signature area by pressing the click to sign button, and this will complete your certify process and officially sign this form. All right, I'm going to click the OK button. And it brings us back to that cover page that we saw earlier. So this time, what we're going to do is we're coming here to officially sign because I have the Certify role in OLDC. Okay, so what I'm coming here to do is down at 11B, I'm going to select the click to sign button. Okay, once I click the click to sign button, 11A and 11D will populate. Okay, let's go ahead and see the magic. Okay, now you'll notice that for 11A, your first and last name of the person who is certifying the form will display here, as well as the email address. In 11B, there is a stamp that says e-sign, and that just is an electronic signature. All right. Now, you will notice that 11E date report submitted, it does not include the date yet, and that's because we haven't moved it to the submitted status yet. Once it's moved to the submitted status, you will then see a date populate here. Okay. So I'm going to actually scroll to the top of the screen, select the report sections, and click Go to Report Sections. And now so we've initialized, we've saved, we've validated and certified. And the last step that a grant recipient must take is to submit. Okay. Now, one tip I do want to mention is that the report cannot be submitted if the due date has passed. Okay, just a tip there to remind you, the report cannot be submitted if the due date has not passed. Now, the next step in the process is to submit. Now, I have authority to do that, so I can see the button. Now, I can see that my sections have been certified, so that lets me know that I can submit this report. So I'm going to now click the submit button. Once I click the submit button, a message displays that says, "This will officially submit your report. Do you wish to continue?" And I'm going to click OK. Another message displays that says, "We have received your report. This page shows all reports we have received along with attachments." And I'm going to click OK. Okay. So we're here at the report form status screen. It does display some information up at the top of the search criteria that we selected previously. There is a table that's labeled report form status that includes the report submission. There is a button that takes you to view the original submission. The report status column is letting us know that it is submitted. The status date, the report action. So if at this point in the process, I needed to make any changes in the report, I would need to do two things. I would need, well, several things. From the report action, if I had the submit role, I can unsubmit the report, then you would need to uncertify the report, then you can make your changes. Now, once all your changes were made, you would still need to go back through the workflow. You would still need to save, validate, certify, and submit again. Okay. Now, what else is available on the report form status screen is the report status history. So this is just an audit list of the users that, the actions that were performed, the users that performed it, and the date and time in which it was done. And just below that, you'll see a table of contacts, and it lists their contact's name, telephone number, and email address if it's available. All right, and so we've actually gone through all of the steps today. The last thing that I just want to mention is if there needs to be any revisions. So if a report was previously accepted, there is an icon to revise. Okay, so right from the form selection, you select all of the criteria, the program name, the grantee name, the report name, as well as the funding and grant period. You would locate that reporting period and then locate the report status that says submission accepted by CO. And under the actions column, you would see the first icon that says revise. Now, what happens here, when you click the revise icon, it opens up the report again, and you can make some revisions to that existing report, and then you would need to walk it forward through the workflow. Well, that's all that I have for you today. Hopefully there was a wealth of information that you learned today. One of the things I do want to reiterate is that you do have that HUD OLDC guide that goes over everything that I talked about today. And Stephanie, back to you.
Great. Thank you so much for that presentation, Andrea. Really great materials there. I know I've seen we've got some really great questions coming in. So I'm going to take us through a final set of just a couple slides, final reminders, and then we can open it up and dive more deeply into those questions. So first, I want to just remind everyone about some general best practices that your ROS team promotes when you're submitting reports. So one is that we've heard overwhelmingly from grantees that case management software is a best practice. It has a lot of really helpful benefits. The ROS grant gives you an administrative budget line item, and those funds in that admin BLI can be used to purchase case management software. So it can help you, it can improve your reports, and it's an eligible expense under the ROS grant. So we really encourage a case management model. So a best practice is to track outcomes, have follow-up with residents, really approach it leaning into the case management side, even more so than simply service linkage. We discussed GrantSolutions access, so making sure that more than one person has access or is familiar with GrantSolutions, just for continuity and to make sure that those reports can live on beyond the specific staff members who may be familiar with them. We encourage you to report in real time. As Andrea has stated, you may not be able to submit prior to the application deadline, but you can go ahead and enter that information, be it manually or, if you have case management software in real time, you can be entering it through that system. We mentioned personal identifiable information. Do not include personal identifiable information in your household identifiers. So we ask that you please de-identify your data, which means those household identifiers are de-identified. They can't be tracked back to specific people living at your properties. And then we've mentioned the Ross HUD Exchange page, lots of great data resources there. We definitely encourage you to take a look at those. And one last piece that I'll add, building off of Andrea's presentation, is that sometimes we do receive reports that we open the report and it may have no data, or it may only have demographics, or just a very sparse information. So this would be considered poor data availability. We really want to see data-rich reports. That just helps us to, again, better understand the program, better, see that you're serving residents, understand the impact of the Ross program. So we want to make sure that data quality is really shining through in these reports, which means having demographics, services, and outcomes for each of your household identifiers. Next slide, please. All right, so I believe it was our very first reporting webinar of this summer, we posed the question to the folks on the call and asked if people had a case management software in place, or if they did not. It was 50-50. And then for those who had case management software, we asked, is it helpful? And that chart, if you can see it, it shows a resounding yes. So I think that that's worthwhile to uplift that, from your peers who have case management software, overwhelmingly the answer is that it is, the feedback we're hearing is that it is something that's helpful. So in particular, if you know that you're struggling to navigate the GrantSolutions system, or if you just want to bulk up the case management element of your Ross program, that case management software has proven to be a best practice that we've heard from your peers. So for those of you on the call, I'll add a caveat that HUD cannot endorse any one case management software. So we don't want to give recommendations, but just as a tool to help you with reporting in general, I think it's something that we do recommend. But from your peers, anyone on the call, I'd love to hear if you use case management software. Please put in the chat, what is that case management software, and would you recommend it to your peers? Just so other folks on the call can get a sense of what's available out there, what some peer recommendations might be. And next slide, please. Great. So we have gotten through our content. I know at this time, we will go ahead and end the recording of this webinar.